currently. So, hello and welcome to the Untitled Car Show podcast. I am Ike. I'm joined today by Miss Mercedes. She is a staff writer. I think I already screwed that up over at Jalopnik. Did I get that right? Because I have goldfish brain going on today.
You
So,
got that right.
uh, I've known Mercedes here, God, years now. Been following your work, going like seeing what you're doing, and you've had quite the renaissance over. I don't know. When did you start working with Jalopnik?
My first day was October 26th of last year.
Okay, so it's been relatively recently you worked over there, and then you've managed to collect quite fair bit of cars over the last year as well. So I'm very these are two things I want to talk about that I'm like itching at the bit to like really go into. So let's start with ooh, I guess one leads into the other. So I think we should start with Jalopnik. So you've been writing as far back as I remember when we knowing you going to the opposite lock days back when that was a thing. Um, and then you've been because you've contributed to quite a few different publications out there, like websites and whatnot. So kind of walk us through going from how you went from opposite lock to Jalopnik. So
So Opposite Lock was the main place, just it's like a car forum. So,
yeah.
just posting my random things going on there. And then my first, I guess, more real writing opportunity was with Out Motorsports.
Mhm.
And I kind of wrote, casually over there. And then I was reached out by David Tracy at Jalopnik back in like September, I think,
Mhm.
as they wanted to hire four new people, and he wanted me to apply.
You applied and that was it, I guess. And you've been
Yeah.
working with them, like you said, a few months now. And I enjoy. I go been more infrequent these days just because the world's a dumpster fire. Um, which is put it. We've all experienced 2020, and so far in 2021, we know how this is going. But it's been a little ray of sunshine to read your words over at Jalopnik, and I really enjoy because you seem to have a few different types of articles, and they seem to like to give you. Was it your idea to do like the tool review things I've been seeing a lot of, or is that something they handed to you?
So my regular stuff, which is the dopest cars thing and the
Mm-hmm.
cool tool, those are my ideas. Of basically just a weekly column of just random tools that readers find and I write about, and just really dumb vehicles I find across the country, to just put together in a list.
Yeah. The so that leads me. So now I get to bring it into the other thing I really want to talk about. You bought two Japanese K cars behind my back. That's what I'm learned here. Like you got a
Yes.
van and you got a coupe. So tell us a little bit about that.
So at some point, because admittedly, Jalopnik has given me the freedom to do more than I want to do than
Mhm.
my previous job. So I was like, at some point it hit me. I'm like, I have the power now to buy vehicles that I didn't think I'd be able to buy before. So I was like, what if I just import a car from Japan? I keep on seeing, Honda Beats and stuff on YouTube. I'm like, why don't I buy one of those? And then I did some research, found out I can get one for like super cheap because they're like $10,000 here in America, but
Right.
you can buy one for super cheap in Japan. I'm like, how hard could it be? So I first went and bought a Honda Beat, and then now I did some more research. I'm like, wow, vans are even cheaper. So I'm like, let's buy a van too.
Mhm.
So now I have, presumably there's a car somewhere in the Pacific Ocean and another that sits still in Japan.
Yeah. So the beat came first, and then the K van came next, and then
Yeah, a
you're
1989 Suzuki Every Turbo RX.
it's just all the great words. So I'm very because what is the current stable then? Because I know you have what four smart cars at the moment.
The current stable was complicated. Let's see here. I have four smarts: a 2005, a 2012, a 2008, and a 2016. A 2002 Audi TT, one of the first generation ones. Uh, a 2004 Jetta TDI wagon. That thing is like wide body and slammed.
Oh wow.
Um, then a 2012 Jetta TDI sport wagon with like nearly 500,000 miles. Let's see. There's a giant school bus I have parked somewhere around here to turn into like a gambler camper
Yeah.
for the Gambler 500.
Mhm.
Let's see. We got that. I technically have three more cars, but none of them are working because they were destroyed by an illegal tow company. So that's litigation now and stuff.
Yeah.
But when that's over with, just I don't know what I'm going to do with those things. But I'm not counting them as part of the list now because they don't work and
Right.
they're being held hostage currently. Let's see here. Then I have five-ish motorcycles.
Where I are any of the motorcycles inside with you right now?
I have one that's technically in my living room.
This is what I absolutely love about you because there's first of all, I don't know where to begin. I didn't even know about the school bus thing. So that's fascinating. We'll wrap around back to that. But we got and then you have two more little Japanese cars coming over, and it is absolutely delightful. So do you still have did you ever end up getting that like little smart car display thing they had going on? I know we like years ago you were looking at that where they like chopped the smart car and it was like all the guts displayed of it.
Oh, I wanted to and never did.
Oh,
I mean,
that's a shame.
theoretically, if I had a house, because I actually had a house for a very short time, I was
Mhm.
thinking about like making the garage into like a miniature version of a smart dealership. But then things fell through at the house and I ended up back in an apartment again. So,
Yeah, life. The so then the four smart cars. I absolutely adore smart cars. Why four? Because there's gonna be people who
whew,
need to know.
that is a very good question. So, at some point in my life, this was, I think, right after the first time I ever spoke to you, the first interview we did.
Hmm.
The one back then, I only had one car, just that one 2012 Smart.
Right.
At some point, around 100,000 miles, it caught fire, and I was able to, I was able to get rid of the fire and stuff, and it was
Right.
running like one cylinder. And one of my dealership friends was like, "Yeah, thanks, toast. Just fly out to California and buy a brand new one. Well, you can pick any single one of them off the lot, and it gives you like no money down and zero APR." I'm like, oh, I have nothing to lose here.
Right.
So I flew out to California, bought the car, and
Hmm.
for whatever reason, they decided to just let me keep the trade, and they're like, "Oh, we'll just give you the money because like the cars in Chicago, we're in California. We said we'd give you the trade money, so we'll give you the trade money, and you keep the car anyways." I'm like, "Okay, sure." And then I
Right.
ended up with two Smarts, and I was like, "Well, if I have two, I might as well get a third." And the third kind of evolved into a fourth, and now I have four. I kind of just made my goal to have every Smart.
Yes.
So I have a first generation, a second generation, and a third generation,
Hmm.
and then a fourth that kind of just exists. I guess I don't really have too many plans for it.
Yeah. Well, do you have a manual and an automatic, or do you just have
I
all?
wish I had the manual. So
Mhm.
the three of them have the single clutch automated manual thing that people seem to hate,
Yeah.
and the third one has a dual clutch that's similar to like a Volkswagen DSG. So that one's
Right.
much better. But
Hmm.
I wanted the manual, but like the dealership, the manuals that they had were kind of crappy. They're like low spec and stuff. But
Yeah.
like if I can get any dealership, any car off the lot, I'm gonna get like the best one on the lot, I guess.
Yeah. Well, this is where the people who aren't interested in smart cards can just probably check out for another 5 minutes because I need to get into my life a I need a smart car and I need a manual cabriolet. And I don't know if one was actually ever shipped to the US in that spec.
Those I've heard that they are here. I swear I've talked to someone who owns one. If they're here, they're extremely rare.
Yes.
And anyone who owns a convertible manual one is going to want a lot of money for it, even though it's not really worth any money.
Yeah.
It's not actually worth anything, but they're going to ask a lot for it.
Right. It's more than it's because they're just so delightful and they're just so oh, I mean, and for a while it was the only rear-engined German car you could get with a manual transmission for a couple of years, which I just
Oh
think is
yeah.
absolutely great. So
For
it's
for a
basically
depressing statistic, because my 2016 is technically a garage clean. I don't drive it a whole lot. I only drive it in the
right.
summer
Mhm.
and special events and stuff. It only has 6,000 miles after five some odd years.
Mhm.
And according to most online databases, it's still depreciating faster than paying it off, even though it's 0% APR. So that tells you how worthless they are.
Right. Yeah. But I can't imagine 20 years from now these things are not going to be going for like good money on like Bring a Trailer or whatever the equivalent is going to be 20 years from now, because they're such a piece, like a little time capsule of like the 2000s, where like you have like, well, what do you need? Well, I need something gas efficient that's easy to park because all the millennials are moving into cities. So it's like a little time capsule of culture for the millennials. So I can't imagine, if and when that generation, gets money, that it's like, well, why don't we get smart cars? Like,
Especially if you get some of the diesels imported to America.
ooh, I didn't realize there was any diesels imported to America. That's
So
crazy
they
to me.
occasionally leak through. They occasionally leak through the Canada border.
Yeah.
Usually, what happens is they have someone who's a legal resident of the United States and has a passport. They drive into Canada, buy a smart, drive it back down, pretend to be a tourist, and then they sell it. It's
Uh,
it's the feds don't like that, but at the same time, I don't think the feds are gonna crush a smart. They're more after like Land Rovers and R34 Skylines and stuff.
yes. I think it was an R33 Skyline today that had got into an accident, was sitting on a tow truck, which, to give you an idea about like how kind of bland those cars look, unless you really know what you're looking at, I was driving by it and I like had to like slow down and be like, oh my God. Like that's a Skyline that got into a wreck because it's raining here in Maryland and no one knows how to drive. So that's how that works.
Oh yeah, it
So
looks like a Chevy Impala from behind.
right, it's like, oh, that's nothing, and it's like, oh wait, no, that's important. Like, uh, kind of sad, but kind of like, ooh. And I think the tow truck guy was getting irritated because as I like slowed down, I looked over, I was basically even with his cab, and I swear I saw him just roll his eyes, like, oh, okay, here's another one. Um, the
Oh, it's
so
gonna suck having that thing repaired.
yeah, it is. I can't imagine like, to that point though, go because it's an imported car, you know, the Beat's not going to be too much better. Like, what are we planning on doing with the Beat in the van?
So the Beat. So the cars I bought at auction, the Beat was an RA grade, which means accident, damaged, and repaired.
Okay.
The van is a grade R, which means currently crash damaged. And the plan is basically with the Beats, I'm going to from the auction report, it looks pretty solid anyway. So
Right.
basically, I think the most I'm going to have to do with the Beat is replace the plastic window in the back and like probably do some paint fixes.
Right.
And then the van, more paint fixes, and basically I'm just going to just have fun with the van, really.
Yeah. You can make it into a mini camper and put it into the gambler camper, and then like it's like almost like a master blaster thing where it's like you, or like the Batmobile, where like the little motorcycle comes shooting out the big Batmobile. Like you could just have like camper inside a camper, and then put a tent inside of that thing, and then like you could just like never run out of places to sleep. Like,
My current idea is to basically put a bunch of like RGB lights in it and really loud speakers and just have like a rolling nightclub.
that'd be pretty badass too.
That's also the idea with the bus, but of course, on a much larger scale.
Yes. So I have to ask about the bus then, since you bring it up. How did you get your hands on that thing?
So back in May or so, I bought a $900 Harley Sportster. I always want to experience what a Harley that's not a Buell is like, and
Right.
it sucked really. It's slow. It's slow. It handles like garbage. I'm like, okay, it's a Harley.
Mm-hmm.
I rode it through the summer, and then my girlfriend slash future fiance was at some point learned about my obsession for school buses because we have a friend that like we have a friend that a friend boyfriend girlfriend friend thing where they built their own bus and and we're like, oh wow, we really want a bus too now.
Mm-hmm.
And she somehow worked out this crazy deal where this one guy was willing to sell his bus to us for the Harley plus a little bit of cash on the side. So I thought it was too good to be true. So I got hopped on the Harley, rode up to
Yeah.
past Milwaukee in a rainstorm, and sure enough, I traded a Harley for a school bus.
that is the most Midwest story possible. I traded my Harley for a school bus. It sounds like a bad country song, honestly. Like, that's awesome though. So you're gonna do the thing like because I've seen like toy hauler ones, and like you said, you're gonna turn it into a club thing for the gambler. So does that mean you're gonna be doing a lot of throwing off road stuff at it, or is it just gonna be like school
It's gonna
bus? And if
be
it, yeah,
pretty basic, really. Basically, I know a lot of people do these crazy school bus camper builds, like make them into
hmm
tiny houses and stuff.
yeah,
My idea is basically be very minimalist with it. We're basically gonna just rip out all the seats, put in like couches and beds and stuff, and
yeah,
maybe make it look a little pretty. But other than that, it's pretty minimalist, just like our friends have. Um,
gotcha.
and basically just drive around mainly the Midwest because it only gets like 12 to the gallon.
Yeah,
So the prospects of say taking it to the OG on Oregon are like the gas prices are terrible. But Midwest, maybe down as far as like Tennessee Gambler, just
mhm,
uses a fun little camper that can tow our rig out there.
yeah,
Because I'm beginning to really hate sleeping in tents.
yeah. So my wife is very camp oriented. She's one of these outdoorsy people, which so the start of 2021, she literally January 1st, the first thing I woke up to is I woke up in bed and she looked over at me and said, I think we need to get a camper. And by the end of that day, I had convinced her that we should have an RV, and we had purchased an RV. So I love where, because sales of RVs is going off through the roof, is my understanding, especially out here. But like we got one, it's like a 34-foot thing, and like I asked the guy who we bought it from, like, what is the like miles to the gallon? He went, like, I don't know. You go and then like you spend a couple $100. I'm like, wonderful.
Spend a couple hundred.
Yeah,
Whew.
yeah. It's like, oh, that's great. It needs a little bit of work. It had some water damage in it, so we got a fairly good deal on it. So, but
See,
it's
that's why I didn't want to go with a traditional RV.
right.
My parents have one, and I know all about the whole. Oh, there's water in the walls. There's water in the floors. I'm like,
Mm,
no, a bus has a metal floor. A bus has a metal roof.
right.
Water damage is less prevalent. The only problem is you have to build the thing out yourself.
Right. hmm Well, that's the thing I'm learning is I'm like, because when I bought it, I'm like, oh, it's in great shape, and then I was like, there's a bubble in the wall here. Like, oh no, like now I got to redo. Well, we wanted to redo a lot of it anyway because we're crazy people, and that's. Well, I think you got a bit of that too, where it's like you can't help yourself but like to tinker on stuff. I know you do some wrenching, and I don't know which do you enjoy more. Do you like wrenching more, or do you like kind of trading out cars and motorcycles and all that stuff, like for like the new experience?
So I used to do the whole trading out thing. Like in 2018,
hmm
in 2018, I think I purchased something like 20 motorcycles because I was always just like every month I was buying two, selling two, buying two, selling two,
hmm
just experiencing new things all the time. And that kind of just fizzled out towards like that fizzled out in 2019. Now I'm just kind of just now I'm basically like just crossing everything off on the bucket list, just going for bucket list vehicles and keeping them and hoarding my bucket list vehicles.
Gotcha.
Um, Wrenching is admittedly something grown out of necessity because I don't
Right.
like paying mechanics for things. Um, Depending on the wrenching job, I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
Some vehicles I do not enjoy wrenching on. Um,
Mm,
Audis,
yeah.
they're pretty difficult. Or, for example, the alternator on a smart car because it's like
Yeah.
buried deep in the engine bay, and one of the steps for changing the alternator is lowering the engine. And for me, I have like this implied rule that as soon as a job gets to lowering an engine or lowering a transmission, that's when I call it quits.
Mm. See, that's smart. I'm more stubborn than that. So that's why my Fiero is on its third motor. So here's what I asked last week, and I'm going to keep bringing this up as long as this stays. I don't know if you can see, I got a wonderful black fingernail going on here because I did a dumb. Um, so have what's the worst way you've hurt yourself wrenching on a vehicle?
The worst way.
See, this
I
is what I
don't think
do.
I've ever truly hurt myself wrenching. It's usually I hurt myself driving a vehicle.
That's outside of crashing or via crashing, like, because if it's outside of crashing, that makes it a lot more
Yeah, I mean,
unique.
outside of crashing, I've hurt myself, yeah. Like one time during a Gambler 500, and I must preface this by saying it was on private property, but I was driving a vehicle, a Chevy Malibu that had been crashed and rear end collapse, and I had a beer in one hand and the steering wheel in the other. And this guy's Malibu he put a giant like light bar on the hood.
Yeah.
And I guess he was tall enough to see over the light bar, but I wasn't. And so he told me, just have fun with it. And then I'm like, I can't see over the light bar, so I'm just gonna just put the pedal to the floor and see what happens. Eventually, I hit a jump at way too much speed, slammed the hand with my beer in it, slammed the steering wheel, and didn't spill the beer though. But when I returned to work next week, like I had a bruise that was all the way around the side, all the way around my arm. My boss was like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Well, I was driving with a beer, and I jumped the car, and when I landed, I hit the steering wheel, and then I went into a mud pit and hydrolocked the car." And he's like, "Okay, well, just don't die. We need you here." Right. So I hurt myself more in the act of doing stupid things in vehicles rather than wrenching on them.
That's impressive. That I'm enjoying that. Like, so what happened? Like, how much time do you have? So how many gamblers have you been on? Because this is something I had the guy who started it on a while ago, and every time I talk to people who've done
so you've had Tate Morgan on here.
I believe that's who I had. It's been so long because again, 2020 was such a dumpster fire of a year that it's kind of. I could go look it up right now, but I'm a little too lazy to do that. What was it said? The more people I talk to and the more popular it gets, because the original one was out in Oregon, I think is where they started it, right? And then
correct, that's the OG,
right? And then like they've been spreading around. So Oregon seems like it'd be fun because it has all this camping and wilderness out there, and like where you're at, where I'm originally from, is like, hey, welcome to Illinois. It's flat, and then it's more flat, and there's a river. So how does it work out in the Midwest?
So I will say the OG is Balt's Gambler Mecca. Like if you go to the OG for the Gambler, basically in the entirety of like that section of Oregon is just Gambler cars. Like every single car on the road is a Gambler car. There's thousands of people, and basically we almost do like a Burning Man thing where we set up a whole town full of gamblers. That didn't happen in 2020, of course. We did dispersed camping to make sure everyone was safe and stuff.
Right.
But usually outside of pandemics, there's a big, huge town where thousands of cars and people congregate. The off-roading out there, at least because I did the 2020 version, and the off-roading out there isn't really any different than the Midwest, really. It's a lot of dirt trails that aren't really hard on your vehicle, and you got some dunes. We have those out here too, and some forest trails. We have those out here as well. So there's really nothing else different than the Midwest kind of gambling. I'd say as far as like if you want hardcore off-roading, Tennessee's where it's at, because that's where you can drive up and down waterfalls through like illegal logging operations, these impossibly deep like mud holes and quarries and stuff. So Tennessee's got like, I guess within my circle we say like Tennessee is where you want to, the OG is the Gambler Mecca, but Tennessee is where the off-roading is.
Right. Well, that makes sense. I mean, Tennessee, North Carolina border is just absolutely gorgeous. Like that's like God's country, I guess is like the expression. It's just absolutely beautiful out there. That's where the Dragon is, which is perfect.
Yes.
Have you taken a Smart to the Dragon?
I have not truly been out on that side of the country basically ever.
Really? Well, we're going to have to get you out to the Dragon in a Smart car. I think that's what's going to need to happen there. So
my inspiration is there's a guy, his YouTube channel goes by Cunningham Garage. He took a scooter, put a jet ski on top of it, and then he did the Dragon on a jet ski scooter, which the pictures are hilarious. He's wearing a life jacket and everything.
That is absolutely fantastic. I just like, because I'm just picturing the photographers that are around like some of the bends. I'm just picturing them just in their like robotic mode of just taking pictures, and then like as he goes by, the realization of like, what did I just witness?
Oh yeah, when he did it in particular, he did it with another guy who took like a lawnmower and like put like a scooter engine on it, so it became like a road legal lawnmower. So it's like in the pictures, there's a red lawnmower and then followed by a jet ski.
Okay. Oh, that's the strangest thing I'm going to see all day. Nope. What the hell? Yeah. Um, yeah, I thought the Volvo people were weird for being up here. So, oh man, but yeah. So just speaking of kind of the weird dumpster fire and weirdness that's going on in this last year, it's been hard for I think a lot of people to kind of stay connected with the hobby and like keep it going. And one of the things I'm interested in doing interviews, at least for a little while going forward, is how have you been kind of like keeping like yourself entrenched in the hobby?
Not much has changed really. The main difference is with like so for me it's like off-roading and stuff. That's my thing
Yeah.
nowadays. And motorcycling is just the difference is
Yeah.
you're not like you keep your distance from everyone.
Right.
Otherwise, everything is still exactly the same.
Hmm. That's good. I guess the off-roaders probably have a very good because A, you're outside. B, I mean, you're going to be far away from each other anyway because most of the cars smell like gas and could ignite at any moment. Have you been doing a lot of like trucks or not truck stuff? Because have you been doing a lot of more car stuff or more motorcycle stuff out in the wilderness
Uh,
off road? That's good.
aside, yes, yeah. Aside from off-roading, a lot more motorcycle stuff.
Hmm. That's good. So when did because last time we talked, I think you had just started getting into the motorcycle stuff, and then you've been moving. I feel like is that the main focus now for you, or like when you're going out, if you're going to go out to your fleet, I know there might be a proximity thing going on here, but like, and you're going like, I'm going to go out for a fun ride. What are you getting on to?
Well, if okay, depends. It depends on the season.
Mm-hmm.
If it's winter, I
Yeah.
usually have a bike I designate as my winter beater.
Mm-hmm.
If it's during the winter, I'll take the winter beater. If it's during the summer, I
Mm-hmm.
might take the daily, which is the winter beater usually,
Mm-hmm.
or I'll ride out to my storage unit, grab the Buell, and take the Buell Lightning.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Depends
So,
on how I'm feeling. If I want to do
mhm.
like just a casual ride, or do I really just want to really have fun?
So you're going more motorbike than car if you're going out for a fun ride.
Yeah, if I'm going out for it, and of course it depends on the weather too. If it's
Right.
a bad day, then car. But
Mm-hmm.
usually, if the weather is good, it's going to be a motorcycle.
Gotcha.
Or if
So
I'm really feeling really stupid, maybe I'll go out to the school bus and drive the school bus around.
for fun, those people do. You could go. I would love to see the like a gallon of gas in a school bus gets you how far, and a gallon of gas in a motorcycle gets you how far. Like just that like comparison. Like the uh the school bus kind of throws a wrench into this, but we both are very much small car people, and that's kind of something I want to talk on about because it's rare, I think, in the car community and the car enthusiast community. Now, Jalopnik is a little different because there's a lot more small car people there, I think. But because what Jason has a Nissan POW and that little
Yes,
electric
and
thing. Yeah.
yeah, the Changli.
Yeah. And then but I feel like you are the small car ambassador being in charge of
Yes,
smart cars. So like I do feel like again 20 years from now when we start seeing the smart cars rise in value, they're going to have you on like the Haggerty channel or Motor Trend or whatever it is.
Vidwiki.
Yeah, and you're going to be the person in charge of like, well, this smart car, it's gray market import from Canada is what's going on here, and you can tell based on the following information. So
I mean, that
being
actually happened today. Someone joined one of the U.S. smart forums. It was like,
yeah.
I have a 2001 Smart for two. I'm looking at it, I'm like, that doesn't have the compliance headlights. That has the old school headlights. I'm
Mhm.
like, hey, so does yours have a sticker that says G&K on it anywhere on the dashboard speedometer? He's like, no. I'm like, and he shows a picture of speedometer, like it's in kilometers. I'm like, oh, that must have been like from Canada or something. That's not even like properly federalized.
Dun dun dun, the feds are coming for you. The we're coming for your diesel. Like the but to that point, the as the small car ambassador, like what is it? Like I know what it is for me why I like small cars. It's because A, there's the unexpected aspect of it. And not to put words in your mouth, but there's just this delightful like cuteness that small cars have that I feel pisses off a lot of like traditional like car guys that just absolutely delights me. And
Yeah, that's
that's
some of it.
yeah. So and the parking, I love the parking. It's hard to get a. I mean, you could park half your fleet inside one of you. If the bus had a door, you could probably get the majority of your other cars inside of that thing.
Yeah, for me, it's part of it's that, just and part of it's just making small cars do what people think they shouldn't be doing. Like
Right.
people think, oh yes, you need like big car to do a road trip in. So I drive across, from LA to Chicago in a Smart in like 30 hours.
Right.
And then, or, you need a Jeep to go off road. So I put like snow tires on my Smart and go the same place any two-wheel drive off-road truck can do.
Right.
I like making tiny cars beat expectations, and
Yeah.
I guess I like sort of, at least with certain small cars, I like how you can sort of like feel everything that's going around in the car. You can feel the road through the steering wheel and stuff, and you're sort of like aware of everything's happening. And then on the other end of things, I basically like extremes. I either like super tiny or just
Right.
extremely huge.
Yes. Yeah.
So either K car or school bus.
Right. Yeah. No, I get that. That is 100% because I'm right there with you. Because I thought about buying a Beat, and then DC up until fairly recently, there was a lot of the military had I think they're called the LMTVs, and it was like, I wonder how much those go for on Gov Planet. And I'm like, like Beat LMTV, Beat LMTV, and then the wife goes, "You're not getting either one." I'm like, "What? Beat LMTV?" The
See, it helps being with someone who's is about as crazy as vehicles as you. But in her case, she loves these ridiculous American vehicles.
mhm.
Her fleet currently consists of a Chevy HHR and a Dodge Dakota with a V8, first
Mm.
generation.
Oh,
She
that's nice.
likes she likes her simple American cars and
Mhm.
her vintage styled American cars.
That's good. Yeah, the HHR, vintage styled. I The HHR is growing on me. Now, you just brought like a thing like zoom into my head. I saw a PT Cruiser today, just out and about, and I saw it for the first time I've ever seen one of those things, and I went, "It's not as bad as I remember." And am I just going crazy? And I feel like you, as again the proper ambassador of all things taste, uh, you could put your input. Am I crazy, or is the PT Cruiser aging not so poorly?
I mean, I think most people would say the PT Cruiser is aging poorly, but I appreciate it. It's like in the back seat, sitting in the back seat, it's surprisingly roomy, at least for headroom, and
Right.
there's a decent trunk space. And since the HHR is more square, the HHR has even more room in the back and
Right.
stuff. And I happen to know that at least with my girlfriend's HHR,
Mhm.
it does go faster than it can pin speedometer.
Right. So they're fun cars, and it's basically you could get the Cobalt SS motor in the HHR, and you could get the SRT4 Neon motor in the PT Cruiser.
Yeah, she really wants a panel van HHR with the SS motor in it.
I mean, don't we all? That's the
So
thing.
those are extremely pricey. I think I saw one on Cars and Bids for like $20,000,
Like,
something like that.
man, why do rich people have to ruin everything? They haven't ruined smart cars yet, and I won't let them. Well, no, they have, because I
I
can't get a
mean, if they
manual
if
one.
they do ruin them, that's perfectly fine. It means I can like just start shilling smarts on Cars and Bids and bring a trailer.
I'm onto your secret plan. That's what I'm onto right there. So before we just go off on like complete tangents off of the like quote unquote prepared topics, not that PT Cruisers was on that, I am curious. So I want to go back to the Jalopnik thing. So again, I know you've been writing for a while, and when it comes to the Jalopnik article things, I am very curious. We talked briefly about like your normal stuff you write. And if you go look at like all the stuff you've written since you started there, there's quite a wide berth of like topics you've talked about. I think wrote about like shipping containers falling into the sea, to like, the tool stuff, obviously, to your own little shenanigans like buying the cars. do you have a type of article or like a topic that you enjoy covering the most?
So with us, we have our regular shenanigans, but
Mhm.
we also try to report on some news that's happening in the car world or
Yeah.
transportation world. So
Mhm.
when those topics come up and say, like, who wants to take this story, I'm like, well, if it's about ships or
Mhm.
planes, I'll take ship stuff. I'll take plane stuff.
Yeah.
I like writing about planes and ships and reporting on news for like strange car makers and stuff. I also have like a sort of unofficial column of finding just strange RVs out in the world. I like doing those on Fridays whenever I can find them.
How have I missed those? I don't know.
But
That's
I try to
fascinating.
take the weirder stories, like just
Yeah.
like a van going down a driveway on fire or something like that.
I did see that. That is a fascinating thing that happened. So I don't know. I just can't imagine. Again, the dash cam video is just absolutely priceless if you haven't seen it. So let me find. I got my little topics I'm coming up with here. I don't know if we did this last time. Um, but we need to. Oh, well, nope, lost my. There it goes. See, I write down my notes in my little phone here, and it's a little pain in the butt when I'm trying to do two things at once. But I don't know if we did last time we spoke the Inside the Actor Studio questions with you, which is my questions of just trying to get to who you are as like a car personality kind of thing. And
Interesting.
these are scientifically proven to be the best questions, I think, at least when it comes to that. So these are how you think right now in the moment, because a lot of this stuff is stuff that changes over time as we grow and evolve as people and as car people. So some of these are going to seem real basic, but we'll just and some of them might seem fairly obvious, but let's just go with some fairly easy ones here. So
This is
what
beginning to sound like my Jalopnik interview, actually.
So, well, this is the follow-up interview actually. So, what is your favorite car?
My favorite car.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a question. All right.
I know this
Uh,
is.
favorite car.
Mhm.
Hmm. Whew. Like as in that I've driven
So
or
this is the way I put this to everyone is this is just when I say favorite car, because it's hard for me to like think of the favorite car like dream car something like that. It's just whatever that first car that kind of seeps into your brain at that moment. It could be something you've driven, something you want to drive, something you've owned, like any of that stuff.
so I have two cars then.
Mhm.
One would be my 2016 Smart 42 with the
Mhm.
turbo and all that.
Right.
And the second one is my Audi TT.
Mm. I like what year's the TT? Is that the
It's
first
a
gen?
it's a first generation 2002.
Yeah. So those are good. I like those cars. I feel like they got a bad rap when they first came out. I don't know why people disliked them as much as they did. I blame Jeremy
I,
Clarkson,
I
to be
I
perfectly
know a
honest.
lot of people chastise them for having more curvy looks and therefore being quote unquote girly.
Right.
It's I mean, I would welcome a design like that today with all these sharp edges and nonsensical car designs. I'd welcome a car design like that again today.
I do enjoy the occasional conversation I'll have with, these hyper masculine people where people are like, no, I don't like that car. It's too curvy. That's a girl's car. I'm like, so what? You drive your big old pickup truck? Yeah, that's a man's truck. Oh, so you'd rather be inside a man than inside of something with curves? That's not what I'm saying. That's kind of what you're saying there, buddy. So then, what is your least favorite car?
Least favorite car. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's an easy one. Chevy Aveo, first generation.
The Veo. Oh, the poor little thing. Um,
No. My least favorite doesn't mean I dislike it. By least favorite, I mean I can enjoy any car. I can find
right.
anything I like about any car. And the thing I like about about the Chevy Aveo is that it's really hard to give a crap about the car.
True.
So so
Oh,
that means you could drive it like you stole it, and you won't feel bad if it gets a dent or a ding or anything like that. So it's technically it could be the fastest car you'll ever own because you'll never care about damaging it.
are we talking about the hatchback version, or are we talking about the little doofy sedan?
Yes.
Um, so then, what modification to a vehicle, uh, the way I have this phrased, and I think it's the appropriate phrasing, turns you on either creatively, spiritually, or emotionally. Like, what is that thing that you look at a car and you're just like, yeah, that's my thing.
This actually lines up perfectly with the car I do currently own. It's a wide body kit and airbags because it's so stupid. It's not normally a me kind of thing, but like when I saw that Volkswagen TDI with the wide body, I'm like, that is that I don't know why, but I like this thing. And then I went and bought it. I'm like, this thing is so stupid. I love it. It sits like 4 inches wider with these really crazy wide fenders, and it sits on airbags. One of them's already leaking air already.
So we're going airbags to go down, or are we going airbags to go up?
So for me, so these airbags are, at least with the previous owner installed them. So basically they have presets and stuff.
Yeah.
He said it's that when it's driving, when you're driving, it's set at stock ride height.
Yeah.
And then when you're parked, you can slam it to the ground.
Yes. You like the park
So,
look.
so that way you can safely drive around. There's no camber or anything like that, thankfully. So it's like perfectly, when you're driving the car, it's perfectly fine. You're not going to scrape on a leaf or anything. Yeah. When you go to a car show or when you park, you just hit the button and just plops right down to the ground.
So then what is the car mod that turns you off? Like
Carolina squat. Easily Carolina squat. If it's done mildly, I can tolerate it, but it's like I've seen some of these where it's like they jack the front super high and the rear is basically slammed. It's like if the headlights are on, they're pointing at the trees and stuff. I'm like, how do you even see what's in front of you at this point?
I do I do enjoy the car mod when you see it out on the road where you're just like the Camber Bros and the Carolina squat thing. It's like you've made it basically impossible for you to drive. I do also enjoy too when you see them and they have the seat back so far back that they're effectively their head is lower than their feet, which boggles my mind. So
the Camber Bros, they're more okay to my eyes. It's just more funny when they decide to drive in the snow and they fail terribly at it.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen like a Lexus IS completely slammed with crazy camber trying to drive in the winter. And surprisingly, it had more traction than stock BMW, but it was plowing snow with its bumper. And like, you can tell every time he tried to take a turn, he was like basically like crapping himself because he had no traction.
Yeah. I'm also enjoying because I know like Chicago winters, so like there's a pothole in that snow that is going to swallow that car up eventually.
Oh, that's why they all have broken bumpers and broken control arms and stuff.
Yeah,
and completely trashed tires.
Chicago, not the best place to lower your car. So what car? You're coming up to a red light, and as you're approaching, there's like 2 lanes of traffic. And in one lane, you see a car, and no matter what that car is, you're going to get into the other lane. So what car do you dread to be stuck behind at a red light?
What car do I dread to be stuck behind?
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting question.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it's going to be a garbage truck.
That's a good one, because those things there's a whole experience there.
It's not so much that they're slow, it's that usually, at least here in Illinois, when you're behind one that's sitting at a light, you can usually see the trash juice dripping off the back of it. Yeah. So you know that when that thing starts moving, it's going to start hurling that trash juice towards you.
Yeah. There's a wonderful full sensory experience with that. That's delightful. What automotive sound or noise do you love?
So two-stroke motorcycle noise.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Also, vintage 6-cylinder motorcycle noise. So the Honda CBX, which sounds like an old F1 car.
Yes, now that is a good one. Anything straight 6 is just in my mind. So, what automotive sound or noise?
Also, Power Strokes diesels. Big stupid diesels. I know it's a stereotype, but I love the sound of a big stupid diesel. Like if I can hear the turbo going through the exhaust and stuff, like it's probably gonna catch some flack for this, but I want to put like a big stupid side stack on the school bus so I can just hear the turbo spooling up and stuff.
Oh, that's the best part of the whole thing. Yeah, just that delightful.
I can identify for like it's like if I'm a gambler, if I could hear like someone starts up like a Cummins, I'm like, someone's starting up a Cummins and off in the distance.
Like a mole rat on the prairie. Cummins. A Cummins a coming. The Big Stupid Diesel, by the way, would be totally my band name. So so what automotive sound or noise do you hate?
Well, I don't know sound away. Fake noise pumped through speakers.
So let me ask you for clarification. Are we counting the Fiesta's silly, we put a pipe between that has a diaphragm that goes to your intake? Does that count?
I mean, no, I've heard that the Fords have this weird like tube thing that they use to pipe noise, and I'm okay with that. That's still real noise. They're just trying to get past the insulation and stuff. I mean, like the whole like I think it's BMW or something like that, where they like the car's so quiet they decide to play V10 sounds through the speakers or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you're gonna have a quiet car, just have it quiet. If you're gonna have it loud, have it loud. Don't like try to like make it seem like it's something it's not by playing engine music through the speakers.
Yeah.
Or at least if you do, offer an option to do something stupid, like I don't know, like warp drive sounds or like something. Be able to change the audio file to something really stupid.
Right. This is one time where Tesla has the right idea. Just do something stupid. Stupid is sometimes better than like fake. So
yeah, or at least offer the option for something stupid, or offer the option to turn it off entirely.
Correct. Yes. No. That's the part that boggles my mind is when they don't let you turn it off. So here's what profession in the automotive space do you think you would be worst at?
Being a YouTuber.
I mean, I've seen some people who are successful at it. I'm just saying.
I would suck at being a YouTuber because, like, for example, like okay, so for one of the YouTubers I chastised recently, Street Speed 717. Right. Fantastic piece of work there. Anyways,
yes,
it's just like, for example, that type of trend of YouTubing is like you buy vehicles, destroy them, and get millions of views.
Right.
Like that's not something I would be able to do, like at least in good conscience, or right. You know, or some of the clickbait fake drama that these car YouTubers sometimes makes to get views. I'm like, I have too much integrity for that. I can't make up all this fake drama that these guys like force themselves to go through.
Right. No, there's that. As someone who has a YouTube channel, I don't, not that anyone watches it, but I don't understand the shit breaks enough. Why are you adding more drama to it? What automotive profession would you think you would do? Would you want to try other than what you're doing right now? So
something that I'd want to try.
Yeah, you can do anything in the automotive space. You can do it for a day.
For a day.
Yeah, well, why not? Or if you do good enough, they'll bring you back.
I'm trying to think. I had this at the tip of my tongue, and I've forgotten it. If I could do anything. I would be president of the country, and
That's
I have an explanation for it. Okay, I have an explanation for it. On day one, I would overturn the 25-year import rule, or use like an executive order or some crap. I don't know how it works, but theoretically, I would overturn the 25-year import rule, or because there's probably like lobbying against it, like say make it 5 years or something like that. Make something more realistic. Yeah. Same thing to chicken tax. Make that more realistic. I would basically overturn a bunch of anti-car rules and then just like resign.
Perfect. The best president in the history of America.
My day one executive orders, making car life better, then resign.
That's right. She did what she promised to do. He's the only politician to ever do it. Why do we all have to own smart cars now? It's an amendment.
Let's see, slide some language in there. Yeah. Everyone gets a one smart car stipend.
a well-regulated smart car. Like, wait, what is this going on? Like, just don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So Do you want the tricky stuff first, or do you want the easy stuff first?
Tricky stuff. I mean, you already sent me down the path of tricky
All
stuff.
right, so we'll go with this then. So you have to. I'm going to give you two cars, and you have to pick one, and that's going to be the only vehicle you're allowed to drive for the rest of your life. Okay. So you're gonna see where.
Are there any loopholes in that?
So I'm going to give you a car. I'm going to give you a modification, and that is it. You're not allowed to touch it. You're not allowed to modify it beyond how it's modified, and you have to pick one of these two cars to live with for the rest of your life.
This is sounding a lot like the Jalopnik interview.
Mm.
For the interview, they showed me like a parking lot.
Right.
And like the car, then they showed me all the cars in the parking lot. They told me, pick a car in the parking lot and tell me why. I chose a Prius and then said, and then they're like, oh, why would you choose that? Or what's behind that? I'm like, because I put a lift kit on it, really knobby tires, and just throw it out into the woods.
That which is the appropriate thing to do with a Prius. So I am waiting to see, because there's a lot of off-road Miatas showing up right now too. So
there is an off-road Prius out in the Pacific Northwest. Now, someone did just that. They put a lift kit and mud tires on a Prius, and I think they do the Gambler 500 with it, but it is a fully functional Prius that off-roads.
How does the regen brake? I'm gonna have to look into this because that just fascinates me. So throw a Hellcat in it. The okay, so the two cars, you're trying to throw me off my game. I see what you're up to. So your two cars is you get an Audi TT. You can pick your generation, but it has a Carolina squat, and it is extreme. You are looking at your ankles as you are driving. Or you get a Chevy Aveo sedan, and it is wide bodied and it is airbagged.
The Aveo. Well, wait, I guess because Carolina Squad has a lift kit up front. So yeah, the Aveo.
Just because you can take it off road, it's more versatile.
No, because the Aveo will be because then the Aveo will be so stupid that it comes back to being good again.
See, I feel like you made yourself too easy on that one. So we'll give you. That was supposed to be the tricky one, but this might be the ones that give you for a loop here. Then let's hope. So, what do you think the hardest food to eat while driving is?
A sub sandwich.
I'm going to need. What kind of sub are we talking about here?
A footlong, of course. I tried to make the mistake of trying to eat a footlong while driving. It's just messy. It gets everywhere, and then you're just like, oh, I wish I would have gotten a burger or something, or fries.
Are we talking meatball here? Or are we talking about like?
Let's see. When I tried doing it, it was like it wasn't a meatball, but it was something where all the parts of it were dripping off.
See, a sub is a good one because now I will say, this is where people get thrown. Is the I've done the Italian beef while driving in a manual while road tripping, and it's doable, but a bit messy. So I'll give you points. That's fine. I'll give that as a passable score. The other question then is hardest makeup to apply while driving.
Oh, eyeliner.
Eyeliner is
because I do not enjoy stabbing myself in the eye every time I hit a bump.
It is.
I mean, I've never done it while driving. I tried once, but and then I was like, okay, how are people able to do this?
Eyeliner is a good one because it's up there, and then you got to get out the little pencil and do all that crap going on. The last question then is, I need to know, when I say automotive pet peeve, your automotive pet peeve, what is it?
So something that just really gets on my nerves.
Right. It doesn't have to be something big. We get a lot of, well, people hogging the left lane, people not doing like the jump at red lights, like that kind of thing.
People who drive without their headlights on.
Oh my God.
And I get why they do it because they have illuminated dashboards.
Right.
But there's usually an icon or something on the dashboard to tell you if your headlights are on.
Right.
At the worst, you can check your stock or just look out in front of you to know that your headlights aren't on. And then sometimes I've seen it with cars that don't have illuminated dashboards, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
So I guess people who don't read the bare minimum of the manual to even know how their car functions.
Right. The more frustrating thing to me is when I see these people and you flash them like, "Hey, stupid, turn on your lights," and then they
They get
brake
so mad
check
at you.
you. Yeah,
They break
like,
check you. They get so
well,
mad
what do you
at
do?
you.
Yeah, like, oh my god, like it just absolutely infuriates me. I don't understand. Then again, I'm good old Midwest boy, and I'm living out in the Mid Atlantic, and everyone's so mean around here. So
Oh, it's like it out here too. It's just like, I mean, you don't have to read your manual or anything, but at
right,
least like know what your turn signal stalk does. I mean, I would hope that's like the bare minimum that people would do.
right. It is remarkable to me how many times I have been like reading the manual for my cars, and people ask me what I'm doing. Like, I'm reading the manual for my car. Like, why? I'm like, oh, I just spent $30,000 on a thing. I kind of want to make sure I know everything about it. I think it's all intuitive. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, that's how machinery works. Yeah. Oh, that's it's. I will never understand that about people. So I guess, I mean, that's where all my little questions end there. And I think we got to the core issue and the core personality of who you are. And
Yes.
as a car
You call those
personnel,
trick questions.
well, normally people have a harder time with them. So I don't know. Maybe you're just brighter than the average, car enthusiast. I'm just saying.
I mean, I guess I just happen to know what I like and or dislike,
Yeah, you're
something
very
like that.
you've yeah. I'm trying to think of the word and I can't think of the word, and it's going to escape me and it's going to drive me nuts, and I'll nope, it's not coming to
Oh,
me.
actually, I have an even bigger pet peeve.
Oh, what's that?
Even bigger pet peeve.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a little bit elaborate. People who commit crimes, film said crimes, post said crimes, and then brag about said crimes, and then get surprised when the cops come after them. It usually happens with street racers. It usually, like, I go on Facebook or something,
Right,
some street racers complaining, "Oh my god, the cops have found my car." I'm like, didn't you like post a street racing video like 2 days ago? I'm
right,
like, you didn't even take the license plate off your car. I'm like, of course the cops are going to come after you. You're making it super easy.
right. Yeah. Not only did you not take the license plate off your car, you recorded it on your phone, and all that metadata is still in the video, and the cops can pull that crap. Like,
Yeah, like if you're going to do something, not exactly legal,
right,
do like the cannonballers where you wait a year or something like that and then go boom.
right. So I enjoyed when I was in high school a million years ago. We had a I went to I guess it would be considered a progressive high school because it had like there was a class that was like here's how here's how you do a checking book, and like here's how you like balance a budget and that kind of thing, which I slept
Oh, I
through that
remember that.
class, unfortunately. But then there was also a like law class, and the whole law class was basically here's how you don't get caught doing crimes. And it's like, don't record yourself, do one crime at a time. Like, the whole premise of the thing and the teacher's words, and I've heard it on the internet now, which is, don't be stupid, stupid. Like, it
Yeah,
does,
like there's another post today on another one of my colleagues wrote about it, but like some guy stole like a Bentley from a car dealership, and he had a face mask like right here. He was wearing it on his face, but just not covering his face. And like all he had to do was just put that mask up and like put on a pair of
yeah.
sunglasses, but he couldn't do any of that. So they had his face on camera like twice. So the cops just know exactly what he looks like. Didn't
Oh
even
man,
try.
uh, that is awesome. Uh, I just, I stupid people amuse me. They really, really do. So, oh man, I'm internally jealous of your smart car collection. I have to admit, like every time I see a smart car, I'm like, I wish I could be like Mercedes and just have a fleet. It would be so nice. The although I need you to get a manual one, so I think you need five now, because I think
Amazingly, so fourth one I have, it's technically, so I've sold one before actually. I sold my original number four
okay.
because it was an epic piece of crap. When I bought it,
No,
I had a chance. I had a chance to buy what was at the time the fastest smart car in the world for like $4,500.
right.
And a week before that car came on sale, I bought the wrong one. Obviously, because in hindsight, I bought the wrong one.
Right, yeah,
And then that wrong one basically didn't drive for almost 2 years straight because every time I got it running again, something
yeah,
else would break. Basically, it's
yeah,
like first the alternator breaks, then the alternator breaks again, then the clutch actuator breaks, and the clutch actuator breaks again. Eventually, I just park the car because I'm like, every time I try to drive it, it breaks. Right. And then at some point, I did get it running good enough, and I'm like, I'm afraid to leave town in this thing because it's going to break on me again. And so I'm like, well, if I can't trust my own car to leave town, then I just sold it, and then I replaced it with a slightly newer one. Theoretically, that fourth one is replaceable for like, I kind of want the unicorn of a convertible stick shift one.
Well, if I find it and the wife says no, I'll give it to you. I'll let you know where I find it because I'm on the lookout.
Assuming it's in my price range, because I firmly believe that these people who are asking like $10,000 for them are.
Oh no, it's ridiculous.
To use the old school Jalopnik term, it's a crack pipe price.
Yes, 100%. So I just, man, I need one of those things. So I want to give up my Fiesta for it, but I would definitely give up my Fiero for it. So that's where I'm at with it. It's been an absolute pleasure this evening. I really got to thank you for coming on.
It really has.
And I have to apologize. I'll do it on air. You've been wonderful because it's been delay after delay because, again, 2020 and 2021 has been an absolute dumpster fire of a year. So thank you for putting up with my shenanigans.
Funny enough, you've had the least amount of delays of anyone who's ever interviewed me. You've had the least amount of delays. Someone's like, we're going to have to talk like in the spring. I'm like, oh, okay. so I've been delayed by months by certain people. So you've given me the least amount of delays.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that because I was.
It's basically what I'm saying is this is happening to everyone basically right now.
It's been. I feel stuff's getting better, but it's not getting better fast enough. I guess is the way it's working out. So again, thank you. Any parting words before we sign off for the evening?
Oh wow! No, that's the trick question right there.
See, any parting words?
Yes. No, that's the trick question. You need parting words.
Mm-hmm. Any words of wisdom for the listeners?
Any words of wisdom? Any words of wisdom? Yes. If you want a school bus, don't buy one with an Allison AT545 because those transmissions hate climbing mountains. Mine has an AT545 and it gushed transmission fluid all over the ground. It takes 5 gallons of it, and I had to put 3 gallons back in.
Oh. I'm just picturing.
Those are my parting words.
the little drip tray underneath it. Yeah. All right. So for everyone else, I think your radio sign off should always just be stay smart. I feel like that's the appropriate one. But everyone else listening, have a good night, have a good evening, wherever you are, whatever time it is there. Thanks so much for watching and have a good one. And I hit the little stop record button, right?